I always wanted to see America. Not the America from the movies with Hollywood, palm trees, and big smiles. I wanted the real one. Streets full of people, loud cars, tall buildings, and something always happening. That's why I chose Chicago. My name is Dmytro. I'm from Ukraine, from a small town near Lviv. I speak Ukrainian, of course. Some Russian too. And I studied English in school. But reading is easy. Speaking? Not so easy. Still, I thought, if I can fix my neighbor's tractor in the snow without losing my fingers, I can find my way in Chicago. The flight was long, but I didn't care. I was going to America. I had a small blue bag, a little money, and my phone full of screenshots. I had booked a cheap hostel in downtown Chicago. I had maps. I had addresses. I was ready. But life doesn't care about your plans. The first problem started right after I landed at O'Hare Airport. The airport was huge. So many people. So many signs. All in English. Everyone looked like they knew exactly where to go. I didn't. I followed the signs to the train. The blue line would take me to the center of the city. I stood in front of the ticket machine, reading fast, trying not to look lost. I pressed buttons. I got a ticket. I was proud. I got on the train. I sat by the window and watched the city appear slowly. First trees, then houses, then bigger buildings. It felt like a dream. I was here. In America. Then I got off at the wrong stop. At first, I didn't even notice. The street was empty, and the buildings were short and old. I didn't see any tall towers. No lights. No tourists. Just a gas station, a laundromat, and a man selling hot dogs under a red umbrella. No problem, I thought. I'll check the map. But my phone was dead. I stood on the sidewalk, holding my bag, feeling the cold wind. It was spring, but Chicago wind doesn't care about the season. I looked around. A bus passed. I didn't know where it was going. Panic is a strange thing. It doesn't shout. It whispers. My chest felt tight. My hands were cold. I knew I wasn't in danger, but I was very far from home. I didn't know the language well, I didn't know the streets, and I didn't know what to do next. I walked. I don't know why. I just started walking. I looked for someone who looked friendly. Most people were in a hurry. A woman passed me with headphones in. A man on a bike didn't even look at me. I walked past a barber shop, a tattoo studio, and a bakery. Then I saw him. A tall man with gray hair standing outside a cafe. He was drinking coffee and smiling at a small dog. I walked up to him. My mouth was dry. "Excuse me," I said. My voice was small. I need help." He looked at me. "Sure," he said. "What's up?" I froze. I didn't understand. "What's up" was not in my textbook. "I am lost," I said slowly. "My phone is dead." He nodded. "Okay. You need a charger." "No," I said. "I need hostel. Downtown." He smiled. "Ah. You're a traveler." I nodded. "Yes. From Ukraine." He pointed to the cafe. "Come. Sit. Warm up." I followed him inside. The cafe smelled like cinnamon and coffee. It was quiet. He gave me a glass of water and took out his phone. "What's the name of your hostel?" I remembered. "Freehand Hostel." He typed something. "It's not far. About 5 stops from here. You got off too early." He showed me the map. I leaned in. I understood nothing. But I nodded anyway. "I take you to the station," he said. "You can get there easy." And that's how I met Carl. A retired teacher who loved dogs, jazz, and helping lost Ukrainians. That small act, a stranger's help, changed something in me. I was still lost in Chicago, but I was no longer afraid. Carl walked with me back to the train station. He talked while we walked. I understood maybe half of his words, but I listened. He asked about Ukraine. I told him a little. He asked if it was my first time in America. I said yes. We waited for the train. It came in a few minutes. The doors opened with a loud beep. "Blue line," he said, pointing. "This time, stay on it until Grand Station. That's your stop." I thanked him again and again. He just smiled and waved as the doors closed. On the train, I sat near the window again. But this time, I wasn't smiling. I felt tired. And hungry. And a little stupid. I had planned everything, but forgot to bring a power bank. I was alone in a country where my words were small, and the world was big. But I was also proud. I didn't call anyone. I didn't cry. I used my English. Real English. And someone understood me. When I got off at Grand Station, the streets looked different. Tall glass buildings, taxis, music from somewhere. I looked around and saw a sign, Freehand, in red letters. I laughed out loud. I checked in, went up to my room, and fell on the bed like a rock. I didn't even take off my shoes. I was home. The next day, I woke up early. The sun was bright, and the air smelled like coffee and cold air. I charged my phone, put on my jacket, and went out to explore. I walked through the city for hours. I went to Millennium Park. I saw the bean, that big silver mirror thing. I took a selfie and sent it to my sister back in Ukraine. She replied, "You finally made it, traveler." At a hot dog stand, I ordered in English. "One Chicago-style dog, please." The man smiled and said, "You got it, boss." I had no idea what "boss" meant in that moment, but I liked the sound of it. Later, I went to the Art Institute. I stared at big paintings and felt very small. In one room, a woman was giving a tour in English. I followed the group and listened. I didn't understand every word, but I got the feeling of it. I liked her voice, calm, clear, patient. That evening, I sat in a jazz bar. A man played the saxophone like he was speaking another language, not English, not Ukrainian, but something from the soul. I ordered a Coke, watched the music, and thought, this is life. Then something happened. A woman at the next table dropped her phone. I picked it up and gave it to her. She smiled. "Thanks," she said. "No problem," I said. Then she looked at me. "You have an accent. Where are you from?" "Ukraine," I said. She nodded. "Cool. I'm Anna." We talked. Not about big things. Just simple things, music, the city, food. I told her about getting lost. She laughed. "You're brave," she said. "I live here and I still get lost." We talked for over an hour. She spoke slowly, kindly. I didn't have to ask her to repeat. I felt relaxed. I told her I was learning English by listening. She said that was smart. Before she left, she gave me her number. "Text me if you want a local guide," she said. I walked back to the hostel feeling like I had won a small battle. That night, I lay in bed thinking about how strange the day had been. I had been lost. I had been helped. I had spoken English. I had made a friend. Maybe even two. Maybe Chicago wasn't such a wild jungle after all. The next few days in Chicago felt like a new life. I woke up early, walked a lot, tried strange food, and spoke English every day, even if it was just, "Coffee, please," or, "Thank you." Every word I said gave me more courage. My English wasn't perfect, but people understood me. That was enough. One morning, I remembered Anna's words, "Text me if you want a local guide." I didn't want to look too eager, so I waited 2 days. Then I finally wrote, "Hi Anna, this is Dimitro from the jazz bar. Still lost in Chicago. Want to get coffee?" She answered in 5 minutes, "Only if you promise not to get lost again." We met at a small cafe near the river. It was warm inside. She was already there, with a book and a coffee cup in her hands. She smiled when she saw me. "You found the place," she said. "Only got lost 2 times, I joked. She laughed. We sat and talked for an hour. She was smart, easy to speak with. Her voice helped me relax. I told her about my home, about sunflower fields, train rides through Carpathians, and my grandmother's kitchen. She told me about her work. She was a designer at a small firm. She loved the city but hated the winter. She said summer in Chicago was like a reward for surviving the cold. When we left the cafe, she pointed to the river. "Want to walk?" So we walked. Past glass buildings, under bridges, by the water. She showed me things I would never have found alone, an old bookstore inside a church, a bakery run by Polish immigrants, a statue that looked like it was dancing. At one corner, a man played the violin. The sound echoed between buildings. We stood there in silence for a while. "This is why I love the city," Anna said. It's loud and soft at the same time. That evening, we shared a pizza. Not the thin kind I knew, but deep dish, thick, heavy, and full of cheese. I needed a fork. She laughed at me and said, "You eat it like lasagna." We said goodbye outside her apartment building. Before she went in, she looked at me and said, "You're doing great, you know. With the English. And the city." I walked home with a full stomach and a warm feeling in my chest. A few days later, I was sitting in the hostel lounge, talking to a guy named Marco from Brazil. We were comparing words in Portuguese and Ukrainian. It was fun. Then a man in a red jacket walked in. He looked around and said, "Anybody speak Russian or Ukrainian?" I raised my hand. "Yes. Ukrainian." He came over. "Thank God. My cousin is in hospital. She came from Kiev last week. She speaks no English. She needs someone to help her talk to the doctor." I felt a chill. Hospital? I didn't know medical words. But I said yes. I don't know why. Maybe because someone helped me when I was lost. We took the train to a small hospital. Inside, the air smelled like alcohol and coffee. I met his cousin, Oksana, maybe in her 50s, with kind eyes and tired hands. She had fallen at the airport and hurt her hip. She was scared and confused. I sat with her. When the nurse came, I translated slowly. I asked the doctor questions. I did my best. I was afraid I'd say something wrong. But I didn't. Before we left, Oksana held my hand and said, "I was so scared. Then I heard your voice. It sounded like home." That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of fear. But because I realized something, I was no longer just a tourist. I was part of the city now. Even a small part. But real. The next week, Anna took me to her favorite place, the planetarium by the lake. We walked through dark rooms full of stars, planets, glowing orbs. She showed me Saturn through a telescope. Afterward, we sat outside on a bench. The city lights were behind us. The lake in front of us. It was quiet. I told her about my dream, to study in the US, maybe work with languages or technology. She didn't laugh. She said, "You can do it." Then she added, "Just don't lose your accent. It's kind of nice." I smiled. "I'll keep it just for you." A few days later, I had to leave Chicago. My visa was short. I packed my bag again, folded the map I never used, and said goodbye to the city that scared me and then changed me. Anna met me at the station. We didn't say much. She gave me a small notebook. "For your English," she said. "Or for your thoughts." I gave her a little flag of Ukraine. She smiled and put it in her bag. When the train doors closed, I watched her through the glass until she disappeared. On the flight home, I didn't sleep. I looked out the window at the clouds and thought about everything that happened, getting lost, meeting Carl, finding Anna, helping Oksana, the music, the food, the stars. I had come to see America. But I found something better. I found my voice. Back in Ukraine, everything looked smaller. The streets, the cars, even the sky. I walked through my hometown like I was dreaming. I knew this place well, the old bakery with the cracked window, the bus stop where I waited every morning, the dog that always slept near the shop. But something was different. It wasn't the town. It was me. I heard English everywhere in my mind. Words came without effort. Lost, found, turn left, how much, can I help you? Simple phrases, but now full of feeling. Full of memories. My mother hugged me tight when I got home. She had cooked everything I loved, borscht, vareniki, apple cake. My little cousin asked, "Did you see real cowboys?" I told him no, but I saw something better, people who help strangers for no reason. I showed photos to my family. The bean, the pizza, the river, the jazz bar. They laughed when I told the story about getting lost on the first day. "You," my uncle said. "You never ask for directions." Well, I said, Chicago changed that. I opened the notebook Anna gave me. On the first page, she had written, "Keep walking. Even if you get lost, especially then." I smiled. Every evening, I took a walk. I passed the train tracks, the school, the edge of the forest. I thought in two languages now. Ukrainian in my heart. English in my mind. And sometimes, they danced together. I began teaching English to a few kids in the neighborhood. Just simple things. How to say hello. How to ask for help. I told them, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every mistake is one step closer to speaking. One day, Oksana called. The woman from the hospital. She had returned to Ukraine too. She invited me for tea. We sat in her small kitchen, drinking black tea with lemon. You helped me in Chicago, she said. Now let me help you. She gave me a name. Her nephew worked at a translation company in Lviv. I called him. He offered me an internship. Just like that, the story continued. I moved to Lviv. I worked part-time translating documents, nothing exciting, mostly legal papers, contracts, forms. But every page I touched felt like a little bridge between worlds. And at night, I studied. I wanted to return. Not as a tourist, but as a student. I applied for a language program in Chicago. I wrote an essay about getting lost, about asking for help, about finding meaning in strangers' kindness. I sent it. And waited. Weeks passed. Then, an email. Congratulations. You've been accepted. I stared at the screen, not breathing. Then I ran outside and shouted into the sky like a crazy man. I wrote to Anna that night. She replied in minutes, I knew you'd come back. Will you still be my guide? I asked. Only if you promise to get lost again, she wrote. Now I sit on the train, headed back to the city that once made me feel small. My bag is heavier this time. My heart too, but in a good way. The train slows. I see the skyline. Glass, light, motion. Chicago. I smile. I don't need a map. Not anymore. I'm ready.